Sunday afternoon, it was announced that Jimbo Fisher would no longer be the head coach at Texas A&M. Despite just getting a 51-10 blowout win over Mississippi State to clinch bowl eligibility, the Aggies decided that wasn't good enough, and they decided to part ways with Jimbo. There are multiple head coaching candidates the Aggies are looking to replace Jimbo Fisher. The first head coaching candidate that I want to talk about is Lane Kiffin. Kiffin is the head coach at Ole Miss, where he has managed to build a program. He was also the head coach at both Tennessee and Southern Cal, as well as Florida Atlantic, and was also the offensive coordinator for Alabama. I personally don't see this happening. Kiffin has managed to turn Ole Miss football around, and they are currently 7-2, and I just couldn't see him leaving what he's built there to go to Texas A&M. Yes, he left Tennessee to go to Southern Cal, but Southern Cal was his dream job. He's got things made at Ole Miss, and he is getting paid a lot of money. Texas A&M fans also don't seem to want Kiffin anyway. I just really couldn't see him at Texas A&M. The next candidate I want to talk about is Mike Elko. Mike Elko is currently the head coach at Duke. And in his very first year, he managed to win 9 games at a basketball school. And in this year, he's done extremely well, and many have talked about him taking a bigger job. One of those jobs is Texas A&M. Elko was actually the defensive coordinator for the Aggies before leaving to take the head coaching job at Duke. And you will wonder, would he be willing to leave Duke and what he's built there to go to Texas A&M? Well, Texas A&M could definitely pay him a lot more than Duke could, and he'd have a lot more to work with. Like I said, it didn't take him any time at all to build what he's built at Duke. He managed to bring him a 9-win season in just his first year. And he seems to be the front runner for the job at A&M. The next guy I want to talk about is Jamie Chadwell. Jamie Chadwell built Coastal Carolina into a powerhouse, and in his second year as the head coach, went 11-1 with an undefeated regular season record with wins over a top 10 BYU team and a ranked Louisiana Lafayette team. And every year after that, he had a ton of success. And after several years being the head coach at Coastal Carolina, he then left to take the Liberty head coaching job, where they are now currently undefeated in just his first year as the head coach of the Flames. Despite all this, though, I still don't think this will be a good move by Texas A&M if they manage to hire him. Yes, he's had a ton of success at both Coastal and Liberty, but he's never even been an assistant at the Power 5 level, nor the SEC. He has no ties to Texas A&M, nor the state of Texas in general. I think he would definitely be a great hire for a lot of other Power 5 schools and even some other SEC schools, but I do not think that Texas A&M is one of them. Another name that I heard was Urban Meyer. Unless if you've been living under a rock, Urban Meyer was a great head coach for both Florida and Ohio State, as well as Utah. He won national championships at both Ohio State and Florida, and he even spent 1 year coaching the Jags in the NFL. If they manage to somehow pull this off, I think this would be a great hire, but I, however, do not think there's any way this hire will happen. Yes, I definitely think Urban Meyer will return to the college game at some point, but I just don't think it will be Texas A&M. Urban's already made enough money to where the money at A&M really wouldn't appeal to him as much. I've heard many other sources mention Cliff Kingsbury. This makes no sense to me. He got fired at Texas Tech and only had 1 winning season there, and somehow managed to get hired by the Cardinals, where he only had 1 good team there too, and got fired. And now, of course, he's the offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach for Southern Cal. But I don't understand why Texas A&M would go for a guy who's already failed at another in-state school. The most interesting name I've heard on this coaching list is Clemson head coach Dabo Swinney. Swinney managed to turn the Tigers into a national power, winning 2 national championships and making the national title game 4 different times, and also making the playoffs 6 times overall. A few years ago, I would have said there was no way this would happen. However, things haven't gone as well for the Tigers, and the fans seem to be frustrated with Dabo, and Dabo seems to be frustrated with the fans and said that if they don't appreciate what he's done, then he'll leave. But for the most part, I feel like A&M would be doing exactly what they did with Jimbo Fisher. Dabo, unfortunately, doesn't seem to be as updated with the newer versions of the game, such as the transfer portal and NIL, and I just don't think he'd make the right fit for Texas A&M. But then again, I wouldn't be surprised if he left. Another name that I have heard a lot about is Lance Leipold. I do not think this could, nor should it happen. Lance Leipold has managed to turn Kansas football around, and he hasn't made there. Why would he just randomly leave to go to take a head coaching job where the expectations are out the roof? He has things made at Kansas. He's turned things around there at a historically dead program. I just don't think there's any way he would leave. And I also don't feel like he'd be the right guy to fix A&M football. I do think he will continue to build a program at Kansas, but I do not think he is the right guy, nor will he leave for Texas A&M. Another name that has gotten a lot of attention is Dan Lanning. Lanning is the head coach at Oregon, where he is in his 2nd season and has had a lot of success and has continued to build off what Mario Cristobal did. He was also a great defense coordinator for the Georgia Bulldogs, and he has ties to both the West Coast and the East Coast. He's a young head coach, and I think he is the next big coach in college football. However, even though it would be a great hire if A&M managed to pull it off, again, I do not think he would leave to go to A&M.
Like a lot of other head coaching searching lists, Jonathan Smith ended up on this one too. Jonathan Smith is the head coach at Oregon State, where he's turned Oregon State football around and has done pretty good. He is an alumni, and this is the exact reason why I don't think he would leave for A&M. Plus, he's a West Coast guy. He doesn't have any experience or ties to the Southeast. I really couldn't see him leaving his alma mater to go to a program that would more or less be foreign, where the expectations are out the roof. Jeff Traylor at UTSA has managed to turn them into a Group of 5 powerhouse. He's from Texas, and he was also the tight ends coach at Texas, and was also the assistant head coach and running backs coach at both SMU and Arkansas. And he's gone 37-13 as the head coach of the Roadrunners. I personally think he'd be a great hire for A&M. This is a new direction where A&M football needs to head, and I think he'd be perfect. Dan Campbell has managed to turn the Detroit Lions franchise around. And of course, he is a Texas A&M alumni, so the Aggies have actually looked at him to be their next head coach. However, he is not interested. I don't think there's any way he could or should be Texas A&M's head coach. He's never even coached at the collegiate level. He's only ever coached at the NFL. And he's turned around a historically dead franchise. So to leave that to now go down to the college level, again, where expectations are out the roof. Former Atlanta Falcons head coach and current Dallas Cowboys defense coordinator Dan Quinn has been brought up. I personally think this would be a great hire. He did get the Falcons to the Super Bowl back in 2016, and he's been a great defense coordinator for the Cowboys. However, yet again, would he be willing to leave to go down to the collegiate level where he hasn't really had any experience? I could see this one a lot more than the last, but still.
Kalen DeBoer has been a candidate for this list, and he has actually had a great record at Washington. He's gone 21-2 in his first 2 seasons with the Huskies, and they are currently undefeated and could potentially make a run for the college football playoffs. His record is overall 117, which is incredible, and I think, in my opinion, he is one of the most underrated head coaches in college football. However, I do not think he will leave for the Texas A&M job because of what he's been able to do at Washington. I think he would rather stay there and continue to build a program. And I just couldn't see him being at Texas A&M due to him being more of a West Coast guy. Another candidate that has been on this list is Kansas State head coach Chris Klieman. Klieman has managed to turn Kansas State football around, and last year even upset undefeated TCU to win the Big 12 championship. And this year in 2023, they have looked pretty good as they are currently 7-3 and are ranked. Again, I just couldn't see him leaving to take the Texas A&M head coaching job. He's done great at Kansas State. I think he's going to want to stay there and continue to build that program. Someone else whose name popped up on the list was John Summerall. Summerall has been able to build Troy football, and last year went 12-2 and won the Cure Bowl, and this year they are currently 8-2. His overall record is 20-4, and he has ties to both the East Coast and the West Coast. He was an assistant for both Kentucky and Ole Miss. So even though he doesn't have any ties to the state of Texas or to Texas A&M, he still has ties to the SEC. And he was also an assistant at San Diego State. So like I said, he also has ties to the West Coast too. However, is he ready for the SEC? I don't know about the transition from the Sun Belt to the SEC, especially at a job like Texas A&M. The guys that are the most likely to be the next head football coach for Texas A&M is definitely Mike Elko and Jeff Traylor. Like I said earlier, Elko was the defensive coordinator for the Aggies before leaving to take the head coaching job at Duke, and he was also the defensive coordinator for Notre Dame. So he has multiple ties across the country. And plus, they definitely pay him a lot more at Texas A&M than they do Duke. He'd have a lot more to work with. He seems to be the front runner of the job with Traylor. And Traylor already has a ton of ties to the state and is currently the head coach of an in-state group of 5 team that he's turned into a powerhouse. He's an up-and-coming head coach. I just feel like A&M would be going in a new direction, which in my opinion is the right direction with Traylor. As for Kiffin, I really couldn't see him leaving to go to A&M. Yes, he's left before to take a bigger job, as we've seen, but that was for his dream job. He gets paid $9 million at Ole Miss. I really don't think there's any way he would leave. But who do you think will be Texas A&M's next head football coach? Please tell me down below in the comments. Please like, subscribe, and share this with your friends. I'm Schultz31. Peace out.